Hello, everyone, and welcome to the American Scouser podcast. Monday night, we are back in action for the 300th time. We're doing the Monday night podcast. I mean, we've done a ton of other shows, obviously, our pre's, post, Thursday night pod, Premier League shows, and all that kind of stuff. But this Monday night podcast, this is as of now, we will soon be starting to release the Thursday night show and a couple of other shows as podcasts as well. But if you're listening to us on like Spotify, iTunes, wherever, this is the show that you get access to. And this is the 300th episode. And sadly, for most people, I've been in most of them, not all of them, but a huge majority of them. But another guy who's been now actually in a huge majority of them, right, is Gally. What's happening?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I think I'm 4 full years or 3.5 to 4 years. So I gotta be close to 200. Which means I've upset you viewers and listeners exactly 199 times. Because that first time I'm sure I was really, really good. I just tell myself that because at that point no
Yeah,
one
let's
could
go with
watch
that.
it.
Let's go
You
with
can
that.
only listen. So that's why I tell myself I was really, really good at that time.
Yeah, Bickler is not here with us. And the irony of this is the funny thing is this morning, like when Twitter's like, what are you guys doing for special for the 300th episode? I was like, well, we're not going to have Bickler. So that's what we're doing special for it, eliminating Bickler. But Bickler is
You're
in a
welcome.
work trip. So he will not be joining us tonight. But the odd thing is, Bickler is the one who actually brought it up and made me look into the numbers to see where we're at. And I think we were like 290 something at the time. And yes, the 300th episode. Thanks to all those joining us. And if you're listening to us and don't get to see our ugly mugs, you don't have to. You can just play it in the background. But go ahead and go onto YouTube, give us a like, subscribe, and all that kind of good stuff on the YouTube end as well. 300 episodes. We are at it. So throughout the night, I do have some clips from older episodes. They're going to be random. I'm just going to throw them in there. They're going to be probably really out of context, which pretty much the entire show is out of context. But like you'll get to see
Basically
some
be
of
the
those. You'll
name of the
get to see
pod.
us younger. You'll get to see us with ridiculous backgrounds, ridiculous lighting and sounds. I mean, the lighting has gotten better. We just gotten older and uglier over time, but it is what it is. But hey, it can't get any better, right? For the 300th episode, I was actually thinking that. I'm like, I hope to God it's a happy one. And it doesn't get any happier than this. Arsenal loses points. City loses again. Our boys win up by 5 points. Who would have thought, Gally?
11 match weeks in, to think that we would be sitting on 28 total points, only dropping 5. Obviously 2 points dropped. Draw to Arsenal, a top 6 team, a championship caliber club. I don't think anyone would argue with that. Could we say to ourselves we wish we didn't drop the points against Forest? Sure. Except for Forest sits currently 5th in the overall the Premier League table after taking scalps from all kinds of big clubs and showing they can compete. I mean, outside of this last week where they just really couldn't finish the job against Newcastle, other than that, they'd be right there. I mean, had they won, they'd be within a point of City right now. So, this is the world we're kind of talking about. And I think what it shows is it's a very competitive Premier League. And it's a league in which we knew we could compete. I don't think anyone thought we would be leading or winning, but I do believe the manager understands what he got himself into. And I think if anything, the biggest confidence for me is that this doesn't look like it was some smoke and mirrors and the wheels are going to come off this bus. This looks like a sustainable set of fixtures and results where the side is actually going to get better. The manager told us you wouldn't see my best version of Liverpool until December or onward. And all we've done is play 17 matches, win 15, draw 1, and lose 1.
I mean, that's the promising part, right? I'm not fully convinced. I'm not already celebrating the title or anything like that. But I think what we're seeing so far is very positive and came a lot sooner than we thought it would. So those are big
100%.
pluses. And we were just talking about it in the Premier League show, which will go out tomorrow. We just recorded it right before we went on air here. I mean, this is a team that did not make any additions, which I mean, including us, we criticized a lot because we felt like some needs were glaring and stuff. We did add Chiesa to replace, to sit where Thiago normally sits. But I mean, it was now looking back, it was a smart decision. Obviously, paying dividends so far. And based on what you said, like what Slot was saying, this team will only improve more and more. This is kind of has come a lot earlier than we thought. And you would think as we go into January and stuff like that, if we do get the reinforcements that he deems necessary, or if we have an injury or something like that, I mean, you could not put yourself in a better situation. I know what you're saying about the Forest game, but I mean, it could have been another away loss or whatever. I mean, getting this many points out of the first 11, I don't think any of us saw this coming.
No, and I also think that in some ways, and I hate when people say this, but like in some ways, the Forest match might have been a small positive because we've criticized this team before for falling on the banana peel, right? For like slipping up against the lower side. So to have them actually slip up early in his tenure against the lower side and him maybe not make the tactical tweaks, because I think what's been so refreshing has been his ability in match to change tactics, change formations, change his way about the match, and especially for being here such a short period of time. And I remember over the summer when we did, well, I don't remember much from the 24 hours other than the pain in my ass. But I remember actually one point when it was the only coherent point I made the whole night when someone was like, what's your most concerning thing about Klopp? And my biggest thing was, or about Slot, and my biggest thing was that he decides to be Arne Slot and not Jurgen Klopp too.
Yeah.
And like, I feel like in some ways that match against Forest made him realize like, hey, some things don't work. I do need a plan B. And maybe the last guy didn't do enough plan B. I'm going to have plan Bs. Even if that plan B every once in a while is reverting to a 4-3-3, playing on the counter and hitting them with his power.
Yeah.
Which is what we did against Brighton, I feel like, at some points.
Yes.
And then we took the match to him, right? So I'm just so engaged with how well the players have taken to the manager. The manager has taken to the club. The city has taken to the group. Like, it feels eerily, I mean, you're the negative guy. It feels too good to be true.
What do you mean, I'm the negative guy? You know what? Just because you said that, I'm going to
sorry.
play this.
You're the pessimist. That's the better way to put it. Not negative. You
I'm going
always
to play
look for
this
the
just to show my point.
For the best, let's put another 3 points, and then maybe by the time we get together next Monday, we'll have added 6 points, and we'll be doing some serious math for the top 4. But one game at a time. Dickler's already shaking his head. Don't. Stay positive, buddy. Stay positive. Okay. I know the trivia doesn't help set the mood for you, but stay positive.
You stay positive. I'll stay realistic.
Damn you, Dickler. Damn you.
This is what I mean right here. Nobody gets more negative. I mean, I think the biggest thing now is, and I saw somebody talking about this, but like, who would have thought in early November, fans have forgotten about Klopp in some ways, right? Where like everybody has fallen in love with this guy now, and like what he does, what he says, and stuff like that. I mean, that is a huge accomplishment by him to be able to get that going, knowing who he was replacing, because it felt like it would be a couple of seasons before that could even happen, where, you know, people, regardless of the success and stuff, kind of like fell in love with what he says, what he does, how he behaves and stuff like that. No fist bumps, just the claps and all that kind of stuff. But let's give credits, by the way, because we do want to say that, you know, in the past, we've said this as well. You got to give credit to Klopp, as Coote calls them, the German C words. And we'll talk about that. But I think when a new manager, and Slot has talked about this a lot, right? One of the bigger challenges is establishing your own discipline levels. and like how we're going to go about business and how business like we're going to be and stuff like that. And I think I've heard this from Slot in like several interviews, talking about how professional this squad is and how well drilled they were in terms of discipline, where he didn't have to worry about any of that stuff. People being late, people not following direction, blah, 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 and all that kind of stuff that probably Amarim is going to have to deal with at United now, for example, or any manager that takes over a struggling team. But regardless, the main guy is gone while the cat's away, the mice play. Like with the new manager, I think it tells a lot about the squad itself, but I think it tells a lot about club too, because that takes time to establish that level of professionalism. So we got to give him credit for that in aiding Slot what he's been able to do.
Absolutely. I think it all started with the accountability that Jurgen Klopp brought. And I don't think that we should, I think we have to be very fair here. We can give a lot of credit to the senior figures at the club, guys like Mo Salah and Virgil van Dijk. But I think if you're going to credit Jurgen Klopp for creating a culture at the club, and you're going to talk about the senior players in that setup that Slot took over, you probably really need to really look at guys like Gini Wijnaldum, guys like Jordan Henderson, and guys like James Milner. The guys that were here that actually were here when Klopp took it over from Rodgers and actually created that senior level of respectability, responsibility, because managers, and you've been a manager, you talk about your time in retail a lot and having 300 plus employees working for you across multiple stores. When you do that, you can be the best senior manager in the world. If you don't have department managers and staff supervisors and interdepartment team leads, right, that are carrying on your message, it never permeates down to the new recruits and the new hires because you don't deal with them.
Yeah.
So I think that's where I think that there's a lot of this does go absolutely to Klopp, no question. But I think guys like Jordan Henderson, I think guys like I said Wijnaldum, I think guys Bobby Firmino, even probably from a less quiet, right, perspective, they did the job, and that allowed the young players to learn how to do their jobs. And I think that allowed Slot to take something over that he could quickly turn into something instead of having to rebuild something. And I think that's the big thing. This was a transformation, not a restart or a reboot. And I think that's huge.
Brian says, Gally giving us ex-retail post PTSD. But yeah, that's a good point. You do need people to carry your message, and you do need people to kind of to follow the company line, even if they do not kind of like agree with the main direction. They got to kind of like support it kind of a deal. You do need that. BJ is in the house. Congrats on 300, guys. Remember, we only played 5 matches against the top 10 in the table, 3-1-1. Actually, as I was digging the clips, we got to bring BJ back, and we got to bring trivia back, because I noticed a lot of the segments that we clipped back in the day are you guys hating on trivia. So I gotta definitely make that a comeback.
I have PTSD because BJ showed up and you talk about trivia at the same time. BJ, I hope you're doing really well. Thanks for jumping in. And I do agree with you, except for the fact that at this point, half of the table is also 3 points away from being in the top half of the table. Yeah. So this thing is a little bit of about as open of a channel of a Premier League as possible, but I'm still excited. I'll take those 5 points at the top right now. I ain't giving them back, even if we've played lesser opponents.
I think more importantly, before this November, I mean, we can't just keep raising the bar. Meanwhile, Cosgrove is, man, I wish I was Kazi, because Kazi is already like on the Kazi is already sitting on the bus waiting for the tour to start, the parade to start. So that's where he's at right now. He's getting like dibs right here, but and Aaron says we need to be City at home before we can even talk about a title. And that's the thing. I think it's early to talk about a title, and I do get that. But at the same time, I think being up by 5 points, like I say, we can't keep raising the bar. When we went into the last international break, right, we basically said, okay, or everybody at least said, they had like the easier fixtures early on. Let's see what happens in November when they have to play Chelsea and Villa and Leverkusen and stuff like that. Well, now we came out of that, so we can't keep raising on. Let's see what happens now when they play City and Real and stuff like that. I mean, this was a huge one. We looked a month or 5 weeks or so ago. This, like, basically bunch of games looked really tough. And we were like, we will probably lose points over here. And obviously we did lose points. But like going back to what BJ was saying, 3-1-1 is fine when I think when you're not losing games, especially there, I think you're in good shape, and obviously you're up by 5 points. I mean, yeah, I mean that's another thing.
Keep
We
them
never
coming,
played
Kaz.
anybody
Just
above
keep
us
them
yet.
coming. Just keep bringing the realist, Kaz. It's unbelievable. But and he's not wrong though. I mean, this is the beauty. When you play from in front and you're playing great, you don't ever have to play like the underdog. You don't have to feel like you're not the favorite in a match when you're top of the table and top of the Champions League table and you're in the quarterfinals of the League Cup and you're playing Southampton on the road. I mean, you should feel good about yourself. We went into this run of fixtures with people saying, well, we're going to find out about Liverpool. They got to play Chelsea, and then it only gets harder after this. They got to go to Leipzig and then play Arsenal and then Brighton in the league and Brighton in the cup. Before you knew it, we did all those matches, took on Leverkusen, threw in a match against Chelsea, also played a match against Villa. We walk away from all of it with 7 wins, a draw, and no losses. At this point, no one should be questioning what Liverpool's doing. What people need to do is question how far can the team go? How far can the side progress? And what will hold them back? And everyone says injuries. I love how Arsenal and City should be felt bad about the Odegaard and De Bruyne injuries. They're key injuries, right? I'm not going to disagree. But Liverpool's had some injuries. I mean,
because of the success, we're not even talking about it, right?
Alisson has been out for 6 matches. He's the best goalkeeper in the Premier League, arguably the world. And the backup comes in, does a good job. We put a 3rd-string keeper in, and he basically gave you a man-of-the-match performance in the League Cup.
Yep.
I mean, and he had to come in the injury when he was the bench player for Alisson, and he won a Premier League game. I don't think this side has gotten enough credit for what they've done, and I think that it's the best case scenario for Liverpool supporters because we don't need excuses right now. At some point this year, we'll use the excuse card. It'll happen. We'll have a draw and a loss in a week we won't like. But truly, what they're doing, the way they're playing, the fact players are staying healthy, the fact almost everyone's fit for every match, the fact no matter what sub he goes to, whether it's Tsimikas to start for Robertson or Robertson to come in against Villa, it's almost everything is working. I'll go to Gomez at half.
Knock on something, damn it.
Damn it. Thank God we only have 2 weeks and I can't jinx us during those 2 weeks. They're not going to play a match until 2 weeks from now.
Hold on, let me throw another clip over here for the sake of the 300 here. With us is our usual Monday crew. We have Bickler with us as always. Back to the non-business look I see. The hoodie's back. What's going on, Bickler?
Makeup of the wardrobe wasn't available today, so I just scooted in last minute. Figured, I'd just Bill Murray it today.
Actually, we talk about this all the time with Gally. We set up this podcast ready to go. Usually, like we chat with Gally a little bit and stuff beforehand, and then usually Bickler is running in the last second, throwing his like briefcase on the corner, coming from work or something like that. But today he was early. We consider 8 minutes early for him, don't we, Gally?
Yeah, he was definitely early for him today. The only thing that's more consistent than Bickler showing up is Alan getting into this podcast before I even get to say hello. And Alan, we thank you and hello in Texas.
Like Alan, he's fashionably on time, like myself.
Yeah, he is prompt. I'll tell you that right now. If we are ever giving out an award for best attendance on the podcast, it would probably go to Alan rather than any of the 3 of us, because I think he has made more consistent. He's made more consecutive Mondays than all 3 of us combined.
Oh, man. The cousin says, is that Gally's fat or older brother? We were so young and hopeful.
Anything that makes me bigger than I am today or Tyler Morton, I will take every day of the week and twice on Sunday.
Hey, what's going on, buddy? I mean, gather around 300 episode. We're going all out today. Just bring on everybody. We don't do the 24-hour, which we'll talk about that. That's probably one of our biggest things that we've done as a trio over here. And more to come this year, next year, hopefully. But Miani's in the house. What's happening? Turkish, did you see the Paneka analysis about Dom? No, I did not. Actually, but yeah, send that over because I would definitely like to shoot us a link because definitely would like to look at that. But yes, you and us and everybody else, I think, man. And we were talking about this in the Premier League show too. I think it did come in a good time. I think for City, Kazi is calling, Pepe fraud and everything like that already. And you know what? First of all, going back to the injuries, I do not want to hear about injuries, blah blah blah. You know what? When we had freaking Henderson and Fabinho playing as center back, which why the fuck club did ever do that? We will never understand. But anyway, when they were playing center back, everybody was like, "Oh, you gotta have a deep squad. Season is long. You guys should have prepared and stuff." You know what? What goes around comes around. I mean, and like you're saying, we have forgotten because of the success we've had that Ali has been out. Jota, who looked like the preferred 9 to start the season, has been out forever. So. I mean, we don't know what impact like Elliot would make, but I mean, I look at
Elliot, but he's a squad player that we thought would have given opportunities to give rotation and moves. And now we're gonna see, depending on what the outcome is regarding Trent's injury from the weekend. So these are key players, just like every other club. And I have a feeling 4 weeks from now, if Trent's out for that whole period, no one will be talking about how they're down their right back. They'll be saying, "Oh, well, he's down that right back that, the manager didn't really like and none of you really wanted and is off to Madrid anyways." Like, I do think there is a little bit of a staggered bias here where I think people want to build up why City's having these struggles without actually talking about City's problems. And I think they're also wanting to give every excuse for Arsenal because there's a chance Arsenal is absolutely out of it on November 11th. And that's not good for the Premier League because they were the next team.
Yes. And I think they still Trent's out for 2 to 3 weeks. It is a hammy. The problem with hammy is, and I think we did this last year too, when we had, I think it was Diaz and Mo and him out and stuff, and we brought him a little bit too early. So that's the thing that always scares me about hamstring is you got to make sure because then you can get a guy back and you'll be like, he's back. And then like 15 minutes into the game, he's on the ground and he's out for like another 4 weeks and stuff like that. So I guess let's talk about the game a little bit between this 300th episode and the 5 points and all that kind of stuff. The right back situation. I mean, we're talking about Trent being out. What did you think about Bradley after he came in? And is that not long-term, I guess, for your current solution for that right back?
Yeah, because I don't want to open the can of worms of where I think Trent will play his football next year, right? Or even February, for that matter. I genuinely believe that we're going to see a mixture of Bradley and Gomez playing at right back over the next 2 to 3 weeks. Because I don't think he's just going to roll the ball out, and say, "Okay, Bradley, you haven't played many minutes this year. You've had fitness issues. Your country plays you every second of every minute with the captain's armband on you as a 20-something-year-old, and you're going to have to play every single minute of every game going forward."
Yep.
I think he's going to use, because I think he's shown already that he uses both tactical experience and just football experience when making these decisions. I think he's going to rotate a bit between Gomez and Bradley at right back. I really do. I think we're going to see some.
Which
Joe
one
Gomez.
would you prefer, I guess? Because my pick was Gomez. That's why I'm asking you, I guess.
I think big game. I think in the City game, I'd have Gomez starting at right back. I do. In that match. I don't think you want to trot him out there every match because deep down in my heart, I still think that the manager believes that Gomez is the third best center back at the team as well. So I think he's going to get minutes playing for Konate and Van Dijk along the way as well. So I do think there has to be a mixture because I do think that Bradley. I think there's a chance that Bradley's the future at this position at the club, and I think the manager's going to take this opportunity to see him a bit in that position as well.
Yeah, the drawing goes says Bradley is wow. He's been amazing when called upon. The only thing I worry about Bradley is he dives into tackles very easily. Got a little Wan-Bissaka in him at times when he's defending, and obviously I'm a lot more critical of defenders. You guys know me, but that's my only worry because I feel like he dives in at times, and if he doesn't win, I think the biggest thing has been Konate and being in the form that he is, because he had to do a lot of extra work again, even after Bradley came in because of that, I think. But Kazi says can't be arsed with like Trent's Madrid stories. I think Trent like is trying to fit in with Madrid so bad that he got injured because he saw the entire Madrid team injured and stuff like that. Ryan says, did you guys forget about the great Curtis Jones at right back experiments? When was that? Did we do that too? Is that when I remember Hendo being right back once during the club era?
I'm gonna tell you right now, if Curtis Jones played right back at any point, I blocked that shit out of my mind because I can't imagine Curtis Jones with one of those like moments where he decides he's gonna like just step on top of the ball and like roll it with his foot. Like that would feel very, very nervous. And of course, it didn't take it took 5 seconds, and Kazi not only gave us the game, he told us what league cup of the round and who was the captain that day. It was Jones.
That's why he doesn't know anything else. Like the entire brain cells are just loaded with LFC Game Pass game information. You can ask him like anything else. He's in like tech support, so I don't know how that works unless they're calling in for like Liverpool scores and stuff like that. But Jones says like he has to grow and learn, and when Trent Kent will only improve. I agree. I think he does need that playing time. We go back to this run of games thing that we always talk about, and it will help him. But I do agree with you. I think there are games where I would rather see Gomez in there. It's feel funny. Like it would be a lot more secure, especially in this system compared to the old system.
It's funny when like, you know, people make the comments and we talk about it, like where they go, which ones play. Kazi made the comment, you know, maybe these ones play against Southampton and Madrid. I feel fine with him playing against Madrid because I want him attacking that weak defensive team with his attacking prowess. And I kind of like his gumption going up against a guy like Vinny Jr. because he's athletic and can run. And we know Vinny Jr. won't track back. So when he goes deep against Madrid, just like Trent would, right? Yes. What Trent would do against Madrid is exploit the space behind where the midfielders and the attackers, it's Real Madrid, which basically means everyone but the 4 defenders. Nobody defends there. So you can make those spaces. I like the idea of Bradley playing that home game against Madrid. I just think a team like City, you probably would rather if Trent isn't fully fit and healthy. And I know people say 2 to 3 weeks. I always take when someone has a recovery timeline on a hamstring 48 hours after it happens. Like a grain of salt, because we don't know what the same scan's going to look like 48 hours before the City game. And if they show any form of a tear or any form of a weakness, they're not going to let him play. So I personally don't think he ends up playing before like the Newcastle match, which is after the City match, if not the next one, because I don't know why you would want to chance him during that holiday fixture run in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, and I agree with what Kazi is saying here. And I think this was the biggest thing that came out of that Leverkusen game, like winning that one that comfortably. I think it enables this. This makes the Madrid game a lot less whatever. So, yeah, there is no need to play anybody who isn't 100% fit. I would really almost, I know it's Madrid and everything like that, but I would treat that with caution and focus on the City game, which I feel like is a lot more important. But I think what we're seeing, Gally, is, I mean, you know, we can talk about the starting 11, but, you know, especially like up top, you know, with Gakpo to Diaz, and then obviously, like, we'll talk about Nunez a little bit, but seems like we do not have, for once, I think this is like one of the biggest differences of the club era, where we could kind of spew out the 11 and maybe we debated only one guy. Like the entire game, we would debate about one guy in terms of like when we were trying to come up with like lineup predictions. I feel like now there is like a very healthy rotation where there is no necessarily like set starters.
I honestly don't believe. I think there are 6, maybe 6, 7 players. I think that are every week starters. And I mean, it's like it is our best of the best, right? It's probably the keeper when it's Allison, Konate and Virgil, Trent Mo, Gravenberch, McAllister. Like I think that feels like our like kind of 7. And then I
And
feel
then
like
you
those
just
other
pull them.
4, Jones, Soboslai, Simicast, Robertson. I just feel like Nunez, Jota, Diaz, Gakpo. That's a good feeling
Yes.
to have that many players that you're that confident. I will say this, every week when the lineup comes out, I'm excited to see whether I'm gonna like have to defend Jones or be excited for for Soboslai, or if it's going to be one of those days where Diaz is the best player on the pitch, or you just wish Gakpo was out there the whole time. And like we'll talk about Nunez because the Nunez Jota thing is the enigma and the injury, and I think they're both enigmas. Like, and the fullbacks.
Yes, I want to I want to open a separate chapter for that one. But yeah, like Brian says, Mecca, Gravenberch, Verge, Mo, Ali. I think yes. I mean, obviously you can put Konate in that mix for sure. And Gravenberch. I mean, this is what I was thinking this weekend as I was watching the game. By the way, Gravenberch has, he has cemented a spot where he has become, and I don't put him in the same bracket and he's as good as Van Dijk or whatever, but like his above average and good performances are almost taken for granted now and taking it as normal. Like we don't mention him like, oh, Gravenberch had a great game. He just does his own thing and it's taken as like the norm.
Statistically, he was tremendous against Villa. It was his second or third best statistical match of the year against Villa 2 days ago. I'd argue he was anonymous because he was so good. You didn't even realize it because you expect it every week.
Yes.
And it's such a testament to what he's done and how far he's come. One thing I will say to Shelton's point of Maka, Grav, Verge, Mo, Ali, I don't disagree with any of those 5 players. Not saying Konate's name for the way he's played over these 11 Premier League games alone, let alone the Champions League, League Cup games, and he's played in almost every match. For me, Gravenberch's the player of the season so far, even though Mo has 10 goals and 10 assists in the league, which is stupid. Just stupid. He has 20 goal involvements in the Premier League in 11 games. Gravenberch's the player of the year, and Konate is a very, very close second. Like, as good as Virgil's been, I think Konate's been our best defender. And I think he's kind of showing when he's healthy and fit. He's good on the ball. He's good off the ball. Like, he's
been amazing.
He's an amazing defender. And you've always said it, when his confidence is up, he defends like a striker who's scoring goals. Like he's a special player. And that's a really cool thing. Like that's what I think is the most exciting about this is we're seeing new players step up in this setup as leaders and as top level performers. And, it'll be interesting to see who the next one is. Is it a Curtis Jones who takes the spot and makes it his own? And the manager is talking like he's making the moves to make that spot his own when he continues to talk about him in every post-match press conference and pre-match press conference. It's almost like he's preparing the people who hate when he starts them for why he's starting them.
Yeah, I mean, these are like good problems to have. I mean, constant rotation is making them all on fire, says Drone Videos, and wanting to start instead of being a bench warmer most of the season. And I think, getting the opportunities is a huge thing. I mean, if you're ever, for a bench player, knowing you're going to get the opportunity, whether if it is like 20 minutes here, 30 minutes there or whatever, just getting it. I feel like the substitutions have come earlier. The rotation has been better. And we will see, right? Like right now, when you look at all this, it feels less likely that this team, when spring comes around, will fall off in terms of form because they will have fresher legs based on what's happening now. It's too early to tell, but I think that's the hope. And that's why I feel like they will be. You will not have Robertson about to collapse. And not only that, when somebody is injured or when somebody does need the rest, the guy that's coming is not a guy who has not played in a month and a half. So we have to sit over here and say, well, they need a run of games and stuff. Everybody is almost in some ways getting a run of games, whether it's 20 minutes here, 30 minutes there. Diaz, Gakpo, like Nunez is starting now, obviously with Jota being out, which, but aside from that, I feel like everybody is getting some minutes over there. Speaking of, there's a lineup video over here. Let's go back to the 300th festivities. I think we had a lot of problems with the lineup. I knew per our podcast last weekend, the moment I saw the lineup, I went online and put in a Discord channel that this was a great opportunity for us.
I tried to beat you.
So let's start with that, Big.
That's like, why do we not have an American Scouser shirt that has that on it? Oh.
Or like make one where you can just kind of like rip it, like it says Ox, it says Keita.
Yeah.
We can make those now where you can write it with the chalk. So we'll put on top like this is a break code routine, and you can just write with chalk, like whoever the name is that day. I don't think we. I mean, by the way, looking at that lineup over there, that's semi-scary and semi-interesting at the same time because there is a lot of like common. I mean, I don't know. This is probably based on your background there. You can probably tell us how old this clip is, but
yeah, it's a good 3.5, 4 years ago right there because I didn't have a green screen. I was two different spare bedrooms. I'd basically been jettisoned to 2 different spare bedrooms before this one.
While Kelly is chasing you around with a broom, you're just like taking the laptop from
exactly.
One
like get in the room with all the Amazon packages. No, it's like get in the room with the boring yellow walls. Yeah, the fact that Thiago was fit and available to play lets you know
and Ox were fit at the same
2.5, 3 weeks he was here.
How often did that happen? I wonder. Thiago and Ox fits and be able to start at the same time is obnoxious.
I will if you look at that team though, if you look at that team and you look at the bench, right? And you read some of the names on the bench, you realize there's a reason those players were starting. Like there's a reason they got those starts. Like those are some guys on that bench. You're like, what's going on here? What's happening? But no, it's always fun. It's always fun to look back. It's always fun to kind of laugh back. But I think that does show in some ways how far this side has come, that there aren't that many times where we're like, oh, it's a big opportunity for this guy, to your point.
Yeah.
Guys are getting their shots, but it feels like it's planned to a degree. And what I mean by that is he's making sure people get enough minutes. He's starting his best players, but he's also making sure that in the positions that he believes there is a lot of competition, that those guys compete. And I don't think at all times Klopp did that, because I think Klopp got favorites and had people that were just his loyalists. And to your point, it would be the second half of the season and Fabinho would go down, or Gini would go down, or Henderson would get hurt. And now it meant we needed to rely on Keita.
Yep.
But he hadn't started a match in 3.5 weeks. And he played 4 times. And it was 15 minutes of meaningless football. I feel more confident that when those injuries occur, and they will, in late January, February, knockout rounds of the Champions League, that there'll be players ready to step in and make more meaningful and longer standing contributions because they will have been playing more matches from the front, from the start, some from the bench. I just feel like players are more equipped. outside of Mo and Virgil, I feel like every player is ready to start or come on as a sub in every match.
Yeah,
And I
because
think
those guys are not going.
Yeah.
Those guys are
I think
penciled
that's
in.
really important, though. I think that's really important, and it's something we didn't see a lot with Klopp, and I think we all kind of question whether or not it was a mistake.
I think one part of it is in Klopp's defense. I think the system kind of enables this one a bit easier. Klopp, it took a long time for a player to gain Klopp's trust, to be able to get the start, to be able to get the minutes. And I think part of that is when you're doing that ridiculous, like high press, full gegenpress going, it takes only one guy to take a misstep and leave a gap. And now you got the back two ridiculously exposed because of how high you're pressing. So that trust factor, I think it was a bit more important because like I say, a misstep could be very, very costly. So he wanted to play players that he had full trust in being able to execute that press. I think because the press is a bit more controlled and more spotty now, you are able to rotate more and get away with perhaps a couple of missteps here and there. So I think part of the reason Klopp waited really, really long time, I mean, heck, we would sign a guy, not see him for like 3-4 months and stuff. I mean, unless there was an injury, like, Robertson didn't start forever. I remember Fabinho, even like it took a long time for him and stuff. Because I think it was a matter of like having confidence in, are you going to be able to execute this press? Because if not, we're screwed. If everybody's not on the same page.
I know you want to get to talking about him, so we'll just segue right over to him. It's basically the definition of 2 seasons of Darwin Núñez under Jurgen Klopp is you can't understand this, so I can't play you.
Yes, because I think that was the biggest. I still think, and I think that's why Jota was preferred to start the season over Núñez, is he gets the press a lot better. He gets the angles a lot better. Everybody thinks pressing is just running fast at the guy with the ball, but it's not. You got to take the right angle. You got to do the right timing because you can screw everybody else over you can't press by yourself. You got to follow the trigger, or if you're the trigger, you got to start it at the right time and stuff. I think that's one thing that Núñez still struggles with, but he has gotten a lot better at. And I think this system is a bit more forgiving in that sense when he 100%. Does get it wrong. But let's talk about him because obviously he gets a lot of criticism and gets a lot of talk. And the funny thing is, I watch, we saw our game, right? That's a great finish. And that's, his work rate in following that, going full speed to be able to get that ball after Mo was clobbered and then scoring that. Then he gets a couple of opportunities where he can kind of put the game away. Because we know once this team goes up by 2, we can kind of shut the door and kind of play it controlled and stuff. And he misses those opportunities. Where do you put his performance, for example, when you look at his performance today? What do you grade him?
I probably would have given him a 6, 7, and I think that's probably harsh when you score a goal, especially the first goal of the match, the opening goal. I thought his work rate was great all game long. I thought he actually added to the team's play, and I thought his buildup was pretty good too. He had some good moments where he was tackling, he was tracking back. He does more defensively than I ever thought he could do in this system. And maybe that's the controlled environment of it. Maybe it's just how much the Klopp or the Kop itself and the crowd loves him, or they know they have to support him. But yes. I think the first miss is really bad. Don't get me wrong. After he scores the goal, he has a chance for the second one. He should score it. I think he's getting a little bit slated on the header because it's easy to pile on him when he misses things.
Yeah, I think so.
Because it's a miss, but it's to me, that's a half chance. That's not some huge chance. That's not on a platter.
The 1v1 is the one that I would consider man, you got to finish that.
That second goal where he breaks in, where we're up 1-0, he gets the chance to add the second one. And then quickly right after it, Villa really should have leveled. And that's what is always what I worry about with him. But, and we talk about this, right? We know he splits opinion like the atom. I just feel like he's that player where, and other than Matoush, right? Everyone else in our group, would make 18 excuses for Jota if he missed that second shot at net. And he'd be like, well, but he'll finish the next one that falls on his foot. I still think this guy overall offers more when he's on his game than any other player we have through the middle. And I mean that one, and I know when he's on his game is a loaded sentiment and loaded statement because he's had a lot of performances where he's not. I just think he makes the players around him better. I think when Mo is there and Darwin's there, it makes Mo more dangerous because the center backs have to be more cognizant of the runs Darwin's making. And they worry about him. And I think he drags players out of position even more than Jota does. Though I think Jota makes smarter runs.
Yes.
But I genuinely believe that if this team hits top form, top level, it's with Darwin Nunez through the center, Mo Salah on the right. And whichever version of Gakpo or Diaz makes the most sense on the left. And I really do believe that. And part of that is I also think Jota is the best match winner we can bring on from the bench. And I think I'll stick with that. I know we used to say Darwin can offer you something from the bench, but I think he actually offers you more when he starts. And I think the effort and the work rate he puts in is a big improvement. And I think the manager's kind of shown some faith and confidence in him over the last month.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree. I just think this is similar in terms of like who should be up there conversation. I think it's similar to the one we had a little bit ago with Gomez and Bradley, where I think it really depends on who we're playing and, you know, what is going to be needed. Because there are some games where Nunez can be kind of taken out of the game because he needs that space. And if that space is not going to be there, what is he going to run? He needs that space, whereas Jota does not need the space. And I think that's when you need Jota more against a team that's kind of parked. And then, yeah, you can bring in for him to just cause havoc. Even though there's no space, now you got a team that's kind of like, you know, hunkered down, like trying to defend and stuff like that. But I do like what Jota brings more to the overall game. But I'll tell you what, everybody will talk about. I think he does get almost like too much crap at the same time. Because if you watch the City game, and I did not watch the full game, but I did look at all the highlights, like the extended highlights for like freaking like 20 minutes. I was like, might as well watch the game. But same thing with Haaland. Haaland did the same exact thing. He scores the goal. And then there's 2-3 times when Haaland can put that game away. And he does not. Right? And then, but because the team lets in goals, that knock on wood, we have not done so. We protect the lead, and then we finish it out with the second goal. Whereas City lets in goals, and they lose that game. If Haaland misses those, if Nunez misses those like chances that Haaland got, he would have gotten a lot more crap. I mean, just because you're a number 9 and you're a striker, and I understand it's your job to score goals and all that kind of stuff, you're not going to finish every opportunity you get. I think the biggest issue that I get into is like that 1v1 where those you got to make. But you just talked about Mo. We said 10-10. I mean, just unbelievable. I think what he brings is unreal. I mean, last week, before he scored the goal, he had that one where he almost tried to chip it over or something like that. So everybody is going to miss stuff. And yeah, like Brian says, Nunez does a lot more work than Haaland. I mean, I don't know. I look at the squad overall. I mean, I guess I will ask you that. When you look, as I was watching the game this weekend, we were talking about like Layla and stuff, like, where do you say, man, I wish we were better here in this spot?
I mean, I don't know if it's a fair position to say at this point, like, but I genuinely wish we were better served on the left back position because I do worry. I worry that Robertson, though he had a good performance, I do think he's aging, and I think it's a struggle. And I don't think that the deputy, I think that's the weakest backup we have. And I think at this point, Schlott is almost playing them like they're equal as 1 and 1A. And like, I won't be shocked at all if Tsimikas gets the start against Southampton and Real Madrid. That scares me. The idea that this manager
always done one, yeah.
But like the idea that this manager might even say like, or I'm going to play Tsimikas against Man City. So Robertson's starting against Madrid. Like that makes me a little nervous. I won't lie. Like, so I think the left back position could be strengthened. Other than that, I wish we had adequate right wing cover. Because I still feel like you're asking too much of a 32 to 33-year-old winger who has to do everything when the hero moments are needed. As great as it is that we split all the scoring around and,
Yeah.
you know, it's where the Chiesa thing, Italian guy raised his hand, might have been the biggest boob, and I could be totally wrong. He could be the next Arthur Mello. But, like, it's where the Chiesa thing is bothersome to me because he was supposed to offer some form of cover for Mo Salah at times on the right. And I still don't feel like we have a single player you can take him off the pitch and play.
Hey, Mihaly would say, and I would actually agree, Szoboszlai over there. I mean, I would not mind
I've been
seeing
waiting
him
to see
over
it.
there.
I said it.
Yeah.
But I've never
Instead of,
seen
like,
it.
you know, keep Jones in the middle, and then at least like which game that he came in and I was like, oh, he must be going right wing, and he didn't. And I was like, oh, I mean, Brian Shelton says bring back Doak, and I'm like, I don't know. Like, I'm not going to be like, oh, good, Doak is coming in, or oh, good, Ben Doak is starting. I mean, he's a good player, he's fun to watch, but I don't know, man. I mean, to me, it's not a whole lot different than putting Elliott over there, which I hated. Obviously, he has a bit more top speed than Elliott, but I mean, in terms of like strength and stuff like that, Mo is not a big dude, but he's a strong dude. He literally does hold up, and I've said this before, like almost like a number 9 at times. So, oh, here we go. Actually, you know what? Even before we get to that, let's do another clip real quick.
Guy's fit and in training. I think he's going to play. I think Diaz will see a lot of minutes between now and the end of the year because I think Klopp absolutely loves what he brings to the side. And I am with Paul. I think it's a wait and see on what we get. But I do think he's going to get minutes. And I feel better about him getting extra minutes than more opportunities for Ox.
Damn you. I knew you were going there. But
I got 3 more months, man. I got 3 more months of that goddamn joke.
Dude, I was on the edge of my like. That's just messed up. I was on the edge of my seat with that point, and Timuchin like knew it was coming. I don't know if that was. I don't know if I was asleep in the pre-production meeting or what.
You were not even present at the pre-production meeting, but anyway. Which is sad but true. Okay.
Makes total sense. He wasn't available for tonight's actual production.
Yeah, after all that, the 300th episode, the 300th trivia. How many Liverpool players have had 300 plus appearances in Premier League matches?
The
problem is, the moment I say the number, he's gonna want us to name him. So
I had no idea of the no. I don't. I mean, I know 2. I'm just gonna go out on a limb and say, like, both Gerrard and Carragher both had 300 Premier League perform. They had to have.
Yep, I would probably put Hendo in there.
Oh, definitely Henderson.
I'm gonna go 5.
You can go 5.
The Premier League thing is kind of touching.
Damn you got it right.
God, give me another 30 seconds.
No, you only got 4. It's only 4.
Yeah. Great guess.
I got 4.
Only one to win. Yeah, I mean, I would have never come up with Hipia, to be honest with you.
I don't know that I would have got. I think if maybe I thought of it long enough, I might have thought of Sammy Hippa as well. I thought the Henderson one was a good shout because he was here so long.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this: do you think? And I know it's completely off the cuff, and we got a couple more videos we want to get to, and then we'll wrap it up. But Jordan Henderson, we've talked about him a couple times tonight. There's a lot of talk that like he wants out of Ajax. It's not really working for him, even though he's club captain, which is still weird to me that they made him club captain. If you were Jordan Henderson, would you be looking to transfer to Sunderland in January, go to the championship and help your boyhood club bring them back to the Premier League, and maybe like run off into the sunset? And like, to me, it kind of feels like a full circle, like cool way for him. Come back to England.
Got a little bit of a save face, right?
Well, I mean, they always loved him, and he said all the right things when he left. He was moving to Liverpool. It's not like he left Sunderland at the time and went to Fulham,
Exactly. Yeah. No, I think that's a good scenario for him because I looked at the last couple of times I've seen Ajax play, and I've like looked at the starting 11. He was not there. So I can kind of see that, and I think with Sunderland making the run, I don't know if they would want that, or like that is like the final piece to the puzzle for them. Some maturity, some discipline.
I just wonder if they need like a leader, almost like a leader. Come in, he just helps with the training sessions. He doesn't start matches. Maybe he starts the big matches. He comes on as a sub in the championship playoffs if they have, what I mean? Like the things you need, the guy you need, because we saw it, right? He was never the best player on the field. He was never the most talented. When he scores that goal against Southampton and does the swipe across the ground, he basically let everyone in the whole world know, I just want us to effing league and look at me. Like he did things in moments that I don't know that like normal people can do. And I think in some ways, I think it could be like it would just be a great fitting end for me, for him. I would love to see it.
Yeah, I think it's a good way to, like I consider it save face because I think he's lost a lot. I mean, Brian says he should have done that instead of going to the Saudi League. I honestly still think he should have stuck around last year and he would have had a part to play, especially with all the injuries we had. And I know he didn't know that in the beginning of the season, but I think he would have a part to play, especially with how much Klopp was in love with him. He would be coming off the bench. He would be, another Milner and stuff like that. And he would have taken that role, I think, coming off the bench and doing all that kind of stuff. But that would be a good way for him to good way to go out. But honestly, like if they do that and they get promoted, wouldn't you want to kind of like show him the ropes in the Premier League as well?
Even that, then spend one more year here and kind of do a swan song and do his clap off at Liverpool and let half the crowd boo him and half the crowd root for him and all the good stuff. I mean, the truth of the matter is, if he stayed last year at Liverpool, he'd probably be the captain of this year's Liverpool.
I mean, very possible, right? I mean, like he would have definitely played. And I think he does fit this system. Actually, he would fit the system in a double.
He'd actually fit this system like a glove.
Yes, exactly.
The crowd would still be complaining about him because, well, he's Jordan Henderson and he passes the ball sideways. Just happens to always go to another teammate and occasionally forward to a guy who's about to score a goal.
Well, Hendo was my guy until he did what he did. Let's look at this. This is from when we said goodbye to Ole. And, right after now we're saying that's a 10 high. Those of us who are watching us live can see that Bickler is already in mourning. And I kind of felt, as a Liverpool fan, as a fan of Premier League, especially, for all the other teams except Manchester United, I figured we start the podcast with a moment of silence as we have lost Ole from Premier League. So let's just do a short moment of silence for a big loss to all the teams. Thank you. That was, I'm holding back tears over here. Bickler, walk us through it. I can barely talk.
I mean, I was just woke up, on a normal weekend morning, just hoping for a 0-0 draw. Next thing you know, you lose the best man in your life.
Man, we've gone through some United managers as we did the 300 episodes, by the way.
I mean, I think basically in the 300 episodes, we've probably had Moyes, Van Gaal, Jose, Michael Carrick, Freaking the boob they brought.
I even forgot about Michael Carrick being in charge.
Only gonna show Scar the boob they brought in from RB Leipzig for 3.5 months just to piss off Ralph Ragnick, Rude, and now Amorim. Oh, and
Ten Hag. Yes.
Do not forget the ETA train.
Yes, those shits. Yeah, they've been through. Yeah, we had some like fun times over here over the 300 episodes. So thanks to everybody like joining us. Do give us a like, subscribe. If you missed the first 300, don't miss the next 300 or 3,000 if we live that long, whatever it might be. But yeah, I mean, I remember like starting this thing back in the day where it was just audio. With like Skype and old school crappy mics and stuff like that. We were uploading podcasts, a couple of us. I remember it was like not even set days. We would be like, when can everybody meet? How about Tuesday night? How about Wednesday morning and stuff like that? And then I think actually the last maybe like 3 or years or so, aside from maybe like a holiday, like a 4th of July or something like that, we've kind of like religiously done this every single Monday. So thanks a lot for all your support. We do really appreciate that. If Victor was here, we would kind of give him the last word like we did over here, because I know how much he likes it. But
Paul, you got anything else for us here before we wrap up tonight as we kind of say goodbye?
You guys, I fucking hate when you guys do this to me. You guys, and you know it. You know it. No,
back in the studio, Paul.
No final thoughts from Jerry Springer's last thought on Friday.
Well, if we got Jerry Springer's last thought on Friday, they'd probably cancel us by Tuesday.
I want to make that a segment, actually, kind of like the Jerry Springer thing, like you sitting on a stool, or do one of those. So, what have you learned today? And then
just remember, just because they're physically emotionally available doesn't mean they're emotionally available.
Unbelievable.
I will say the best part about that is I only know this because of the fucking stupid tour that I had to take on that freaking riverboat cruise when we were in Chicago over Labor Day weekend, is that the Jerry Springer show was recorded right there at that building in Chicago for all those years. Like rented the NBC building. They'd be like, see that building over there? That's where the Jerry Springer show happens every year. And now I think to myself, like, here's Bickler shitting on the Jerry Springer show on a Friday. And here's me and you and him meeting on a Labor Day weekend just a few months ago for the first time ever, right before our 300th show. And what a perfect way to wrap this whole thing up than to wrap up with
I'm gonna put this on there, right? I forgot the video for this. I have to have it somewhere, but the video of this famous clip.
Like and subscribe, smash that like button.
Where it was recorded with like a sleeveless tank top that Bickler was wearing. That video has to be somewhere, but yeah, I mean, 300 episodes. I'm just so glad that it ended up being this episode where we're top of the league, top of the Champions League. Things could not be going any better, and we got a lot going on. And honestly, this has been like a huge year for us. Obviously, with the YouTube end of things growing as we go. But the biggest thing, I think, we've done now 2, and we will make the Jamie Carragher one an annual one. But we did a fundraiser, I think, like 2 years ago for like the earthquake in Turkey and Syria for like Save the Children. And then this year we did the 24-hour podathon where, thanks to my great idea, we were live for 24 hours where your butt blew up at the end. But we were able to raise $5,000 for the foundation. I thought that was awesome to have everybody involved, everybody chipping in, a lot of supporter clubs, a lot of like listeners and stuff like that. So it has been like an awesome year overall this year as we kind of towards the end.
We were invited to try to help with the Sophia's house over in Liverpool, and we did our best to get the word out on
Sophie's place
that they were doing that. We got involved. It's just nice that we're being recognized as someone trying to help. The fact that they reached out to us and said, "Would you help us with this?" And who knows what we did, but if one person donated $5 or $50 because of a link that came off one of these stupid talking moment podcasts that led to that hospice being saved over there, though, then we're doing our job. Because the whole point of this, and I'll speak for myself on this, the whole point of this was to get involved and get connected to this club and this support we love so much. on this side of the world and show people that people over here get connected to the club and get connected to the things that mean something to the people in that city. And we can give back as well. And I think that's what is so cool when I go places. Like I was in a gas station the other day and I didn't even realize what I was wearing. And this dude walked up to me and literally did this. And I thought little Tyler Morton was about to just scrap up. Just scrap up with the dude at a, yes, Tyler Morton went like queued up. And the guy went like this and just showed me like the Liverpool crest on his arm and was like, it's awesome, man. And I was like, oh shit, I forgot what I was wearing. Like it was just like random, but the way he came at me, and it was just neat for the fact that that happens. And I've told you before, like that story I told when I was at the Fan Fest and I was handing out the coasters, and the lady was like, I love this podcast. They're my favorite. And I was like, I'm Gally. And she was like, who? And I'm like, Gally from the podcast. And then literally she was like, oh, the one who hates kids begging for jerseys? I was like, and my wife was like, and Kelly immediately was like, oh no. I'm going to hear about this for 3 days. Oh no. And it was great. It made me happy. And it didn't really care that she knew who I was or what I talked about. It was just that she cared enough to pay attention, that she was excited about what we were doing. And if you're out there and you want to get invited or get involved, send us a message. We have so many different things. We have great initiatives and plans we want to do for the next few years. So I just want to say thank you to everyone, all the viewers, all the people who comment every time, the people who join the match day shows. We wouldn't be able to do this without you. And whether or not you believe it or not, we do this for you as much as it looks like we just do this to pick on Bickler.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't tell you. I'm like I say, when I started this thing way back in the day, it was just a bad way to kind of get connected with other. I'm like, there has to be other people like me in this country, kind of thing. And that's kind of like grown its own legs, and it has like really taken off with everybody's support. Obviously, you know, people like you, Brian, like a bunch of people like jumping in. And I mean, I love our Discord community. I love like our website community. And yeah, if you want to get involved, I mean, can't be any worse than us. So yeah, just send us a message, get involved, jump on board. We do have a lot of projects coming up. But yeah, I mean, along the way, I think we've had some like great ideas of being able to kind of connect with Liverpool fans, and obviously with the city, with like the fundraisers and stuff like that. That's probably like the thing I'm like the most proud of, is the community we've established where people help each other. I mean, we were talking about like Kazi, for example, like a few months ago, where, you know, like suddenly he had like an online baby shower, basically, of like Discord. I mean, everything, you know, we know each other, we support each other. I remember like Brian's dogs were missing for a while. That Discord community, the website community we've established, that's probably like the things that make me the most happy. I'm proud about the solo. And there's more to come down. God knows how many more to go. But we'll be back next week, same time, same place. God knows where Bickler will be, but we'll be here, and then we'll the international break, obviously we'll be able to analyze things a bit more, maybe look at the table and stuff. With all the 300 festivities, we probably did not go as tactical and all that kind of stuff as we would, but we did talk a lot about the Coote thing, and many of you might have tuned in to talk about that. We did not get to that, but the Premier League show will go live tomorrow. Gally and I, you know, recorded that earlier, and there's a lot of chat about that whole ordeal over there. But have a great week, everybody. Spread the word, give the share and the subscribe, and we'll see you guys next week. Take care.